Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Sunday talk within the Nine-Sided Circle. I'm one of your two hosts, Noor Kyle.
And I'm the other one of your two hosts, Mushtaq Ali.
Yeah, thank you. So, we got a new person. We'll have
Okay,
to figure out who that is. Yes. I will just continue forward. Thank
carry
you for
on.
joining us, whether you're watching on the replay or you're here with us live. We are so glad to have you here. And need to do a little bit of a YouTube spiel, try to keep it quick. We really appreciate your support when you like our videos, comment, subscribe to our channel, share it with your friends. You can even donate to us. We have links for that in our description. And it's getting to be that time of year where we have to think about renewing our subscriptions to various services that allow us to provide this content otherwise for free to you all.
Yeah.
So anything
So
you can contribute
what you don't realize
is
is that
out.
in December, we're going to start our fund drive.
Yeah.
So you could donate now and avoid the rush if you really wanted to.
Yeah. So we'll have more about that forthcoming for this year. And in the meanwhile, thanks for hanging out with us. Frank's here too. Yay. Hi. Okay. So, anything else I need to add?
Just that we're really happy with the way our YouTube channel is going.
Yeah.
And since there are more of you who have been uh, making donations, large and small, to the effort. We wanted to give a special shout out to you tonight and a thank you to all of you who have been donating to help keep us on the air.
Community effort
Yes.
means a lot. Yeah. So, thank you. All right. So, let's get started this evening.
All
I
right.
see
What are we
we
going
have,
to talk about?
a good amount of interest in this topic. We are going to be talking about cultivating the three attentions.
That sounds
Now,
like a most excellent plan.
yeah, and we're going to clarify some, I guess we could say, confusions or misconceptions or conflations even about what is meant when we use the term three attentions. Where should we get started?
All right. We have talked about attention ad nauseum. And sorry, we're going to do it again, but we're going to make it a little bit different. And we're going to see if we can drill down a little bit. Here's something that some people don't know. You have more than one attention. We've talked a bunch in the last couple, 3 months about the centers and developing the centers and all of that sort of thing. And here's a thought for you. Each center has its own attention. And the kind of attention it has is different for each center. And usually we will either randomly bounce around from attention to attention, or we will have a preference for one. And yet, what we need to do is to learn to cultivate all the attention of each of the three centers in such a way that they can be brought together. And usually when people talk about this, they talk about it as if you were going to have three separate attentions going at the same time, like juggling almost. And that's not correct. That's not what happens. Fact of the matter is that you don't multitask. The human brain is not capable of multitasking. When people think they're multitasking, at best they are switching back and forth between ideas or between topics or whatever the hell you want to
Yeah,
call it.
like page flipping, right?
Yeah.
Or browser tab switching. Yeah.
Yeah, or think of it, you have a radio, a TV, and a book going. And you look at the book, and then you look up and you look at the TV, and then you listen to the radio, and then you go back to the book. But you're not reading, watching, and listening all at the same time. Your brain doesn't do that.
Khalil is giving you a thumbs up.
Yeah, he understands about this stuff. This is interesting stuff, but we love to tell ourselves that we do things that we can't actually do. Yeah, like multitasking on a single CPU, you get a lot of heat. So, Jesus said, if your eye be single, your whole body will be filled with light. You will not find that in the Synoptic Gospels or any place. You find that in the Gospel of Thomas. But it doesn't matter to me. It's still correct. What does that mean, do you think? If your eye be single, your whole body will be filled with light. Don't everybody answer at once. But answer quick, because we have people who hate the silences when we're doing this. They don't realize that they're attending a class.
Osama.
Frank?
Oh, okay, so we have Frank and Osama who would like to chime in. Let's start with, I don't know who went first, to be honest.
Osama can go first. Yeah.
Okay, Osama, you first, then Frank, and then I think Levita had her hand up.
Thank you. The way that initially I understood that statement is fully integrated and whole, not fragmented self, but rather whole, fully integrated self. However, in the context that we're talking about, I can see it, I can understand it as single focus. I can see it understood as that. However, the first impression was fully integrated and whole.
Both of those are absolutely correct. In Arabic, what is the word for eye?
Ana.
And what's the root of that?
And now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the root of it. Don't quote me.
Yeah. It can be broken down into ayn.
Oh, ayn. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I.
And are you familiar with yaqeen? Okay, and you know there are three kinds of yaqeen, right?
Yes.
And the second of them, the first is ilm al-yaqeen. But the second is ayn al-yaqeen. Yaqeen means certainty. And
Certitude.
yeah,
Here. Certainty of the eye, of like
of
sensory.
that which you directly experience.
Yeah.
In a conscious way. Ayn al-yaqeen is to be conscious of one's own sense perceptions. And this is important to understanding the three attentions, because this is the first attention, basically. The third attention, by the way, is haqq al-yaqeen, the certainty of the truly real. And sometime we're going to have to do a talk on that.
Yeah, I'll make a note.
Make a note.
Yeah. Okay, so Frank, did you have anything you might like to add, or Levita?
Um, no, not really. I think he covered it very well. I was thinking more along the lines of on the edge of understanding or perceiving, and then that of receiving information, so that I'm in the now and I haven't decided anything about it at all. I'm just aware that it's there. I'm receiving it and letting it tell its story, if I may, if I could say it like that. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but instead of being preoccupied with any assumptions about what I'm seeing, I just see it for what it is without making any determination. For me, that would be, I would consider that a vision with one eye, not being influenced by any of my natures. But I
That's
don't
also
know.
very good. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you, Frank. Levita, would you like to add anything?
The only thing I could think of was that you can see more clearly, and I'm using clearly, I'm trying to draw a parallel between clearly and the light when you're
Mhm.
only one thing.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in a sense, we can think of attention as shining a light on what is perceived. So I think
Yeah.
that's a useful metaphor. Thank you.
So, what would the three attentions be? We know that one is connected to the moving center, one is connected to the feeling center, and one is connected to the thinking center. So, what is the attention of the moving center?
Sensation.
Any thoughts?
Guesses?
We can do a guess.
Go ahead and do a guess.
It's accurate perception of touch, kinesthesia, that kind of thing.
Very close to the exact right answer, yes. Levita.
Well, great minds think alike. I was thinking something along that line. I was going to use bigger words though.
Bigger words.
But basically just being aware. I mean, we all have a level of awareness of our physical surroundings. Usually, if we're in good health and things are going well, we are aware of like the noise around us, the people around us, if people are getting too close, that kind of thing. And we're also, if we're in good health, we're also aware of our balance. Like when you navigate your personal space in your home, you're aware of, oh, that chair is not where it's supposed to be, so don't trip over it. That kind of thing.
I think all this is definitely part of it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Proprioception.
the attention of the moving center is sensing. To understand what sensing is, you have to understand what it's not. There are no words and no stories in sensing. If I ask all of you right now to notice the quality of the temperature of the air in your room, you don't talk to yourself about that. You sense your skin contacting the air. If I ask you all to notice the pressure of that which you are sitting on, unless you're standing, then notice the pressure on the bottoms of your feet. That is sensing. Sensing is pre-verbal. And Levita has raised her hand again. Tell us, Levita.
As
Oh,
has
no, I
Khalil.
have not.
Or
Noticed
Khalil,
it was-
sorry,
Yeah, sorry.
that's okay. Lay it on us, Khalil.
Yeah, I had a question about the verbal business because I find in my the regular sensing that I do every morning, like the body scan, that it's so, because I am definitely not a body person, so it's very, very, very hard for me to sense parts of the body. So sometimes what I have to resort to is just naming the parts I'm trying to sense at first. And once I get a kind of verbal anchor as to where my attention is to be directed, I'll be able to sense it a little better, and then I can let go of the verbal. But I'm just kind of
That's okay. That's just using your thinking center as a lead.
right. Okay, good.
But yeah, understand that they are slightly different. Now, if we
I
understand,
I
yes.
saw Osama and Nancy unmuted too.
Okay. Osama and Nancy.
Just a quick, so with the story, part of the having it being separate from the sensation, I understand that. However, so when you said sense the temperature of the air in the room or around you, that was clear. After, there was a moment after that where comparison
Yeah.
came in.
This tells us that you will rely more on your thinking center than on your moving center
Mm,
to make sense of the world. There's where your habit will be.
interesting. Nice.
Thanks,
Nancy.
Osama. Yeah, Nancy.
Yeah, I was wondering whether this is all the senses, so it would include sight and hearing as well as the more obviously body senses.
Yes.
Yes, as a matter of fact, it is
Taste,
sight and
smell.
hearing in a particular way.
Mhm.
If you want to know the sight of sensing, it is soft focus.
And not non-judgmental.
Yeah, it's just you allow that which is to come in.
Mm-hmm.
You don't talk about it. You notice it. And if something moves in your visual field, you might focus on it for a second and then come back to just being with the vision. When I do sitting meditation, I do it with my eyes open so that I can take in my visual impressions as well as my sensing.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting ahead of ourselves here, but that was a good question. So the feeling center.
AKA the emotional center.
Oh, I almost forgot before we jump to that. Smell is important.
Yeah, I mentioned that. But if you want to dive into that a little bit more.
I would like you all to remember the aroma of a rose. Just allow yourself to remember that. You don't need to talk about it. Just sense the smell of the rose. That is also sensing. And that's doing it in memory.
Mm-hmm.
But one of my favorite things when I am out walking is to notice all of the different smells of the plants, which there are many, many. And lots of people around here have roses. So that's a good one.
I make us both stop and literally smell the roses at least once per walk.
So then the feeling center. Emotional center is not a term I am fond of because emotions are more complex than what goes on in the feeling center.
Mm.
I would like you all to think of something that you are grateful about. And you may have to talk to yourself in your head for a minute to find it. But when you find it, notice the feeling of gratitude. What does gratitude feel like to you? Where is it in your body? It's in your body, you know. It is literally a feeling. And that feeling is different than just sensation. So if you notice that feeling of gratitude, that's what the feeling center does. And then you can turn that into an emotion by telling yourself a story about what you're grateful about. But even before you do that, you have the feeling of gratitude. And then we have the attention of the thinking center. The thinking center thinks in symbols, including words. You'll notice that in truth, the moving center has no words, pure sensation. The feeling center will get a few words slopped in on it because that we're humans and we like our words. But again, it's not really about the words, it's about the feeling. The thinking center is about the words and the symbols. Here's an exercise for you. Count to 100 by twos and visualize the numbers as you count. So you start with 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. If I keep doing this, you're all going to go into trance, so I'm going to stop at 16. But realized I was slipping into my hypnotist voice there.
Osama's
And you
cracking up.
count down from 100 to 0 by 2. Yeah. Don't mean to do that. Sorry, folks. Wake up. But that's an example of the thinking center. Make a picture in your mind's eye and describe it to yourself. The attention that you use on that is thinking center attention. Counting. If you breathe, that's sensation. You can start counting your breaths, and that becomes thinking. You're thinking about the sensation of breath. So do we have sort of a sense of the three now?
Yeah,
Anybody
any
clear on this? Because I can talk for
questions?
hours on this until you all get it, or you all just fall asleep now.
So how do you differentiate between feeling, since there's a lot about, the experience of an emotion that can be sensation oriented?
Yes. It's the difference between what is going on in the real world and what is going on in your inner world. The sensation of the temperature of the air on my skin does not need any words. But it's entirely my experience of the world through my body.
Yep.
The sense of gratitude also doesn't need any words, but it is something internal to me, not related to something that's real in the environment necessarily. Ravita has her hand up. Yes, Lavita, talk to us.
Oh, I was waiting for you to finish.
Oh, I stopped so that I could listen to you because you're more fun than I am.
Oh my goodness. Are you feeling all right? No, I had a question. That's why I was waiting for you to finish. I just didn't want to forget to put my hand up.
Lay it on me.
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, because this is kind of new to me, the feeling center and the thinking center are related, like cousins almost.
Yeah, as
For
a
example,
living center. Yeah, they're all related.
right. So you could be upset about something, And your feeling center, all you know is you're upset. But when your thinking center gets involved, you can then parse out maybe to your partner or your friend that what's really going on is you're embarrassed or ashamed or jealous or afraid.
Yeah, you're going to tell yourself or someone else a story. And at the same time, your sensation is going to be different. That my perception of the room I'm in, to me, feels quite different if I am happy and relaxed or if I'm upset and angry.
Mm-hmm.
And so that also is definitely based on your perspective. Like when two people are having a conversation over whether this number is a 6 or a 9, depends on where they are standing when they're looking at the number.
Yeah.
And what I wrote here was the thinking center is more like where we use our words for what we're experiencing and what that means to us.
Yeah. Or what we remember and what that means to us, or what we imagine and what that means to us. Thinking center is not time bound in the way that the feeling and the moving center are.
So it's not linear.
Not necessarily, or if it's linear, it has a much longer line.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, Frank, you have a question too.
Yes, I just want to ask, we hear an acronym that's used in the treatment centers. It's it's HALT, for hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. And I'm wondering what the relationship is to the three centers when they use this. And they use this acronym to indicate that if any of these sensations are felt, that you're more likely to feel fear or manifest some action or behavior that's going to be less than what their programs are suggesting. So is there a relationship there that you...
Let's start with hungry. Hungry is moving center. Without a doubt, if I'm feeling hungry, it is the sensation in my body going, feed me, Seymour.
Growl. Yeah.
Now what was the other three?
Angry, lonely,
tired.
Yeah, angry, lonely, tired.
Okay. Yep. Angry and lonely are going to be feeling center. And tired is going to be moving center. So there's a relationship with the first two. Now, what that doesn't tell you is that when you experience any of these things, there's a story that can go with it, because that's in the thinking center. So I'm feeling hungry. And so my bro, Tim, who did 3 tours in Vietnam, talked about he was a tail gunner on a PBR. And one day he and his buddies got their PBR blown up.
What's that for the rest of us?
Patrol boat river.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's a little boat, and they zipped up and down the Mekong Delta. And so he got blowed up, and everybody made it to shore, but they were all separated, and it took him about 3 days to get back to their lines, during which time he had no food. And he said that ever since then, that feeling of real hunger, of fasting for 3 days and not hardly drinking anything, would stimulate those memories of being basically chased through the jungle by the Viet Cong, because they were looking for him the whole time. And so that would definitely stimulate because of the story that's attached to the sensation. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. We usually fill in the other portion. The thinking portion, I guess, is going to be consumed by the literature that we provide.
Yeah.
So I guess all three together gives us the three that we need in order for them to settle down. I've
That
just never
makes
seen it like in this way. I mean, I've just got to take this opportunity to say I really appreciate the Nine-Sided Circle.
Aw.
It has really helped a lot of my friends and myself. I'm very grateful. So thank you.
Yeah, that means a lot because as you may have gathered, PTSD is something that has affected my family strongly, and I had to deal with my bro coming back and having his life wrecked for years before he could get back out of it. And God knows what it's like today. He did 3 tours and he was a mess. And I look at these guys who did 6, 10, 12 tours, and it's like, I can't even imagine how they're doing right now. But
Well, thank you
anyway,
very
we
much.
digress.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. Thank you. All right, where were we?
Where were we? We were talking about the attention of each of the centers and defining them in such a way that hopefully everybody can understand the difference between each attention. And then comes the most interesting question of, now that we know that, what do we do with it? How do we practice the so-called 3 attentions? And I will tell you that trying to hold all 3 of them in your mind at once is not how you start this, no matter what somebody might have said. You must practice each one of these attentions separately first. And I like to start with sensation. Sensation is the oldest part of us, right? This is like the amoeba sensing pressure in the water that is floating through and that sort of thing. It goes back that far. So the meditation of the moving center goes like this. You sit and you allow yourself to become aware of your breathing. Notice when you breathe in and notice when you breathe out. Do not try and change anything. Just be aware of it. What is the sensation of your breath? Notice the sensation of the air in the room on your skin. Notice the feel of any clothes on your body. Now, when you have been able to hold this for just a moment or 3, let yourself listen to the room. Notice if there are any sounds. Don't try and do anything with them, and make sure that you stay with your breath and you stay with the sensations of your body as it interacts with the environment that you're in, and you listen to the sounds. And then make sure your eyes are open and let your focus be soft, and notice that you can see the room. And you'll be able to hold this state for whole tenths of a second at a time. But with a little practice, it gets longer. until you can get very comfortable in the first attention. Then you just let that be, and you move to the second attention. I recommend that you choose a feeling that you can remember clearly. And I recommend that it be a pleasant feeling, a positive feeling. There are really not that many negative feelings, but it will be more fun if you choose a positive one. I like gratitude as a place to start, because pretty much everybody can find something that they feel grateful for, if only the ability to take the next breath. So you allow yourself to feel gratitude. You don't talk about it. You don't make pictures about it. You don't do anything other than feel the gratitude. And it will be a feeling in your body, but it's a different feeling than sensation is. Then you have to engage your thinking center. Imagine for a moment a cube floating in space. Choose the color of the cube. Choose the size of the cube. Do this with your eyes open if you can. We don't want you falling asleep. And notice what it's like to see this cube in your mind's eye. Now, describe the cube to yourself. Tell yourself what color it is. Tell yourself how big it is. Describe the texture of the surfaces of the cube. Now describe what is around the cube, if anything, or if nothing. And then let go of that. You just ran through each of the three attentions. The attention of sensation, the attention of feeling, and the attention of thinking. Now, here's the tricky part. Find that attention of sensation again. Be in the room. Feel everything that is given to you to feel. Now, within that, incorporate the feeling of gratitude. And choose a symbol that to you represents that gratitude. And do all three of these things because you want to make them one thing, not three separate things, but one thing. And here's the thing, as you bring yourself back from your meditation there, understand that I can look at a leaf and I can also look at a branch and I can look at a tree and I can look at a forest. I decide how big or small my attention gets. And so instead of looking at three things, I make the three one. Making the three one. Where have we heard that before? And when you do that, when you can hold attention within each of the three centers, as if it were one attention, you create a fourth attention. And that's when things get interesting. Frank has another question.
Oh, no. No, I think his hand just didn't get lowered.
We'll make the hand go away. Go away, hand. So that's the tricky thing. You can't try and switch between the three attentions. You have to make it all one thing. You have to make your attention broad enough to encompass each of the three centers at the same time.
Yeah, Ian says that was hard.
Yeah, it is when you start. If it was easy, everybody'd do it. And yet you would be surprised with a little practice how much easier it becomes. And I like to suggest to people, and it's only a suggestion, that you practice one of these attentions a day for about a week. So the first week, start with sensation, and you spend time each day experiencing the awareness of sensation. The next week, you work on feeling, and it's best to go from the bottom up. It's a lot easier than going from the top down. So, sensation, then feeling. Focus on things that you can feel that are ideally positive and life enhancing, because why would you want to make yourself feel shitty?
Yeah, I think that's a good word for it, is life enhancing, because you know, we've talked about how there's really, in the objective sense, emotions are neutral, but
If you want to feel shitty, go to a political watch the news.
Right. Yeah.
Plenty of that, but better for you if you allow the more life enhancing feelings to be the ones that you use for your meditative process.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then the third week, you practice your symbols. And you can use all sorts of different things. Math is a good one if you like. I mean, I have been known to just sit and do multiplication tables in my mind, and I will do that with words and pictures. Starting with my onesies.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you're saying there is benefit in doing each of these separately, before just assuming, perhaps a little self-deludedly, that you can jump right into doing them all at the same time.
Yeah, because in my experience, it is delusion at first. You have to build up the muscles for each of them and understand what they are.
And that's part of it too.
Yeah.
Like being able to differentiate. You can't really do that if it's all a morass of assumed difference. And
so you have just gone through 3 weeks of doing these. What do you do next? Go through another 3 weeks. Do 3 months of practicing each one of these sequentially for a day. After which you can start stitching them together. If you're looking for an immediate fix, this is not going to do it. Eat mushrooms or something. It can get you to the same place for an hour or two oftentimes, but you don't stay there, unfortunately. So this is the slow but hard way to do it.
Yeah, so I think we first of all have a question, and then I think, a question we might want to address. Ian says, somehow I seem to find it easier to remember feeling happy rather than gratitude. It occurs to me that those two must be pretty closely related. Any thoughts on that?
I suspect that they are related, though different, subtly different. But if gratitude is not as easy as happy, do happy, man. There's no, I'm giving you suggestions, not instructions, not orders. And I'm telling you how I do it because I know how I do it the best. You know, Noor might pick a totally different emotion.
Yeah.
She might be thinking of donkeys.
We've been watching a lot of cute donkey videos, so now I'm like dead set on having one someday.
Yeah, we are going to do donkey races. Did you know there are races where you run them with your donkey? You don't ride the donkey runs, you run with the donkey.
You cheer each other on. Yes.
So yeah, if you find it easier to remember feeling happy, then start with what's easy. Easy is good. Don't buy into the thing that it has to be hard. Life is hard enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one that comes to my mind is I was practicing contentment earlier. And that's a little bit different than happiness or gratitude. But
Yeah,
if
contentment
you
is
can
another good one though.
feel it, if you can start to pinpoint what that feels like, I'm gonna say in the body, but it means, you know, it's in that in between place between the psyche and the body. It shows up in both of those places. And these are the kinds of practices that help you figure out how to replicate that without needing some kind of external quote unquote reason for it. So that is where I wanted to head with this, is that why would someone do this? What do they achieve? What is this unified attention, and why is it so special?
Well, you could win a prize. And why you would want to do this? This is the natural state. This is the state of the integrated human being. This is the state of the insan al-kamil. You all remember that phrase, right? Al-insan al-kamil, the completed human.
Yeah, we did, I think, one or even two talks on that just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. The completed human has unified their attentions, and they are working equally out of all three centers. Each of us is going to have a center that we prefer. For me, it's the head center. I'm really good with symbols. I like my symbols. Zildjians.
I tend to lean towards the feeling center for the most
Yeah.
part.
And that means that we are going to be heavy in that center and light in the other ones. And that makes sense. It makes sense for Noor because sensation might not be that pleasant for her.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it's easy enough to go there, but if I can avoid it, I'd rather be stuck in my fifis. So,
yeah. Whereas for me, thought is a weapon.
yeah. But we can all do all of them.
Yes.
That's
And we
an
all
important
need to
thing.
do all of them.
Yes.
So Gurdjieff talks about man 1, 2, and 3, right? Which is to say someone who operates from the moving center, someone who operates from the feeling center, and someone who operates through the thinking center. None of them are better than any of the others. It's not like it's not hierarchical, starting at the bottom and working up. All three are incredibly limited and out of balance. And whatever center you prefer will steal energy from the other two. And what you want is to unify all three centers and to be able to operate from all three consciously, rather than just bouncing around like a ping pong ball that's been thrown into a room.
Fun imagery.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
what it feels like to me. It's like take a
It
ping
can
pong
be.
ball and you fling it into a room that has a bunch of stuff and it just goes bouncing around.
Yeah, you're just at the mercy of whatever stimulus response
Yeah.
is happening. I just want to interject with the rest of Ian's thoughts because
Yeah.
I think that altogether it's
Yeah.
interesting.
And then we have to get back to Osama here.
Yes, of course. So Ian says, I seem to have to think about what is the gratitude that is associated with my quote, happy, unquote. And that brings in intellectual center. Seems a bit odd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I would hazard a guess. I would probably even bet money that your weight is in your intellectual center. Your weight is in your thinking center. I mean, it sounds like you're somebody who deals a lot with symbol systems.
Yeah. He's in agreement on that point. So, good opportunity to stretch into slightly different domains.
Yeah, and realize that there is no shame in that, in having any of the three as a lead.
Mm-hmm.
But let's jump on Osama here.
Yeah, Osama.
Yeah. How does this play with mood shifting, and would these meditations help in allowing oneself to fully experience the range of sensations, emotion, feelings, and thoughts? So
What do you mean by mood shifting?
meaning like I feel pain right now.
Okay.
However, I'm gonna bring gratitude instead of pain. And now here I am, I'm grateful now. But
Okay.
yeah.
So if you are doing that in such a way that it suppresses the sensation of pain, let's assume that you stubbed your toe and it hurts like a son of a bitch because that happens. You can still create a feeling of gratitude and experience the pain at the same time. Now, there's more than one thing we call pain. Stubbing your toe is one sort of pain. Now, another sort of pain is watching some force attempt to commit genocide on all of your family. That's going to create a different kind of pain, and that's going to be a pain in the feeling center.
Right.
And so you may not be able to create gratitude while experiencing that kind of pain. So what you have to do is move to a different center to find something that would be the equivalent to gratitude. So physical pain, one thing, emotional pain, a different thing.
Yeah. So the reason why I asked that is because well, I don't know if it's naturally, but I would want to go away from pain because
Yeah.
it's unpleasant, right? However, it is still a feeling that on the spectrum of feelings that somehow, some way can be necessary in the human experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Pain is your body informing you that something is wrong. And the sad thing is, you cannot go away from pain.
Right. And I think that's my point is,
Yeah.
with this exercise, this meditation, even with gratitude, right? Like, because yeah, it's an easier it's, I can find it easy to go into that gratitude space within myself, that feeling. And at the same time, I have I think this would allow me practicing this, like, let's say, okay, 3 months, 90 days, intervals of 3, like you mentioned, to expand the capacity for that feeling center, so that when pain does come about, I can truly sit with it in that pain and experience it as it is, rather than going on my phone trying to distract myself from it, but to be in it. So it seems like this exercise can lead to that point of like, okay, this is pain, let's experience it.
And I can tell you from my direct experience that if you can allow pain to be as it is, if you can cease to resist it, it becomes more endurable. It ain't easy, but it can be done. And the more you do it, the easier it does become. I don't recommend it. You know, there are some people who put themselves in positions of pain so that they can experience that and fight against it. That's the way of the fakir, which involves total focus on the moving center. And I don't recommend it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bree, you've been so quiet. What do you think?
I just want to say to Osama, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I feel like that's an important component to this, is it's not about evading what is actually present. Yeah. So thanks for that. All right. Yes. Who were we checking in with?
We were checking in with Cherie.
Cherie.
She's sitting there so quiet.
Yeah, Yusuf too.
Well, I only speak if I've got something useful to say.
Yeah, you always have something useful to say.
Well, I think that's why I changed my career, because I was so much caught up in the head. That's all my world. And so moving into the moving center, it made me ground myself a lot better. And I think that's when you recognize when something is dominating, how you can move into another center to find a more fulsome experience of who you are. So using sensation and actually recognizing when the body's telling you a fib, so that you think, oh, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do whatever it is that you're choosing to do. And then you think, oh, it's actually, oh, yes, I can. Oh, it was just a habit and all that sort of thing. So I think it's useful if you know where you're caught. And mine is thinking. Mine is hugely thinking. I overthink everything.
Oh, yeah.
So,
in order to be successful at what you were doing, you had to be able to manipulate lots and lots of symbols until you found the ones that gave you the outcome that you were looking for.
You were walking computers at high, trying to calculate numbers as fast as you can, and you realize that you are imposing that on the people around you as well, that you expect them to live to your particular habit. And I was being very harsh on my family when I asked them to keep up with me or to follow a conversation, and I'm talking 100 miles an hour because I've overthought everything and I've gone through every parameter, and for me it's clear, but for no one else it's completely unclear. So using movement and knowing the difference between that and emotion, but noticing where the emotions are caught in the body as well, and then working with that and how you relax that, making your face soft. I think that's one of my big things, is because I'm caught up here. How do you make your face soft? How do you make your eyes soft, so that you're feeling, but you can feel the emotion that goes with it, and then the story that might pop up, and you can recognize that, and then you can let that story go, because we do like our stories. We do like to keep repeating them. And so that was one of the big things that a teacher prior to meeting Mushtaq kept telling me, he said, I want you to be able to have a conversation with me without repeating the story of anything. Just don't say any story about anything. Where are you right now? So often we would sit in silence.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very useful. And then you can start then noticing the sensations in your body and the tensions, and then the emotions that are caught in those corners of your body that you're not paying attention to. That
Useful stuff, Sheree. Thank you. And yeah, Yusuf says he's at a friend's house and he can't join us out loud, but his presence is felt. But yeah, Sheree, you touched on some interesting things in the sense that we can get so caught up in whatever our habitual type of attention is that we notice nothing coming in from the other types of attention. And until we kind of force ourselves, either literally or metaphorically, to be in silence and just allow any and all of the inputs available, we're just oblivious to them. And that can leave us ignorant of important things about ourselves. That can leave us oblivious to parts of ourselves that need attending to, or things happening around us in the environment or in other people that need our attending to. So there's a lot of benefit in being able to strengthen this capacity to attend.
So who else have we not heard from?
Frank, do you have a thought?
Yeah, I wanted to know about the benefits of listening to the Nine-Sided Circle while visiting Planet Fitness.
That's a good question.
I do it. So I need to know what I'm setting myself up for, right?
Hey, you should report back. You should tell us
Yeah.
what you get out of it. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I really love it. I mean, I have a question though. You did say that there are of the three centers, they all have their own attention. So I guess I could say that they also have a segment of intention, attention, and presence that can be afforded to each one of those.
You could say that, yeah.
I think that's...
Well, would I be saying the truth?
It would be saying something that's more or less accurate, yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, that helps do a little bit of tying things together, right? Because we need to be able to bring those things to bear in order to make the attention happen, essentially. In each center, in every center.
Excuse me, one more thing, if I may.
Of course.
One of the things I've benefited from is this. You told me it's been years since I seen this video. The wandering nerve. Was that? I think that's something that you've spoken about, where I can basically map my nervous system. And I try to do that when I'm working out, you know, to feel the sensation and then see what I expect after I work that segment of my, I don't know if I'm making sense to anybody here, but it's just trying to incorporate some of the things that you've taught us within my day, you know, and the things that I naturally do. So that's one of the questions I have is, when doing that and trying to explore those sensations, you're using the wandering nerve, I suppose, that you had talked about before.
Yeah, the vagus nerve,
The
right?
vagus nerve. That's right.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm sorry.
No, you're not. Isn't that what that word means? Yeah.
The word literally means wandering. So
Right. So it's just another way to describe it. But I mean, many of the practices we do are meant to directly affect the nervous system and its degree of activation, overactivation, underactivation, and then optimal activation.
yeah,
And we are trying to help us all figure out how to stay in the zone of optimal activation. So, yeah, that includes breath practice, that includes navigating attention in a way that is, as Mushtaq said earlier, life affirming, things like that. Yep. I don't know if that answers your question, but I feel like the topic of the vagus nerve is like a huge domain unto itself.
I've got something to add to that for Frank. When you're working out, bring your attention to your feet. So when I'm working with a new client and I ask them to bring their attention to the tips of their toes, and then we start stretching toes and we roll balls under their feet and we get them to stretch the plantar fascia and the calf muscles. But being back into the feet, often when we finish the preparation, the client will say, I don't know what I'm feeling. I feel numb. I don't feel the difference between left and right. So when we do one foot first and then the other foot, and then they can't compare. And one of the initial responses is furiousness. They're furious. They're like, look, I don't know what you're talking about. And they're angry with me. And then they go, I don't know what's going on. Then it's shame. And then it's a whole gamut of judgment on themselves. And I said, this is normal. You've checked out for so long. You don't even know what your little toe feels like. And then they go, you're right. And they go, oh, so this is like when we're starting this kind of practice of trying to get into each center, we don't know what we're feeling. We're not sure where we are. We're not sure if we're in the right place. We're not sure if, is this correct? Nobody to really tell us. But when you actually, as Noor and Mushtaq says, you persist and you keep practicing, and all of a sudden, oh, is that what that is? Oh, okay. And then you start getting gratitude, but you don't get the gratitude first off. Sometimes you just, what are you talking about? It's real. That's the thing. So anything that's new, something that's unfamiliar, you're going to get shitty with yourself, and that's normal. And I just said, this is normal, but it's not ideal. So like bringing yourself into an attention to maybe a body part that you're not fully owning or aware of might be a good place to start.
Yes, into process of waking up.
Yes, definitely.
yeah. Ian has another question here.
Yeah. Thank you, Frank. And Ian asks, could you also say that each center has its own sense of purpose?
You could say that, but it won't be a conscious purpose. It will have a sense of mechanical purpose until you give it a higher purpose. At least that's the theory.
Yeah, okay, he says that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, we could think of it just on the level of making the unconscious conscious, right?
Yeah.
Your centers are doing stuff all the time, no matter what. We're just trying to get them consciously engaged.
So James, what do you think?
Well,
ridiculously quiet.
I've been laughing all this up, but okay, in personal experience, like I was always the person thinking and fantasizing up in his head. I was sort of defensively hiding up in there for probably right through to the end of my adolescence. But I then sort of haphazardly tried to come back down to the body. I had a sense it was something that I had to do, both in a crude mechanical sense, like getting into exercise, where you sort of there's you doing things to the body, but also in body sensing in various ways. And there's been a number of times where a feedback from the body has. Okay, I'll explain. One, I used to live in Fitzroy, which was back when I was there, was the edgy, artistic, junky suburb of Melbourne. And I'd often spend a bit of time wandering up and down Brunswick Street and bumping into people and being hypersocial. One night, it was just an unusually quiet night, probably about 2 o'clock in the morning. I was wandering back home, but I didn't really want to go home. And I went onto a little side street where they used to have this solid bench covered in tiles and stuff set into the ground, just sort of round the corner. Then I sort of lay down and stuck my legs out, relaxed, looked at the stars, and suddenly had this immense pull, almost urge from my abdomen. Get up, walk around the back of the bench. That's all I can describe it. Not vocal, but that was the sensation, like I was being dragged there. So I get there, I'm standing behind the bench, and suddenly a taxi comes around the corner, mounts the curb, slices right in front of the bench where I've been sitting, and takes off. If I'd still been there, my legs would have been mushed. I don't know if that proves anything, but I've had a number of similar things. There's almost a tugging sensation from the lower abdomen to go into a different direction. And when I follow it, it's usually to my advantage. I don't know how that contributes to this discussion, but a sense almost of being moved by a lower center, or getting info from it.
That suggests that your moving center is fairly aware, because that's moving center stuff. That's the survival things.
Even though I don't always have the physical skills to fully express it, which seems to be more of a learnt thing. I don't know the full skill range to express it, but yeah, that's all I've got to, and I can cite numerous examples of that. Did I tell you that story about when my junkie girlfriend took off, leaving me in debt? I went out and found the money in the street. Did I tell you that whole story?
I don't know if you've told that to everyone, but I vaguely remember
Yeah,
the story.
I remember the story, but I think you told it to just Nora and I.
Yeah, privately.
Well, what facilitated that when I was on the tram and the sudden urge to get off the tram was once again that sort of tugging sensation in the lower abdomen. And that's when I stumbled across all that big pile of cash. So I don't know. Yeah. Mostly I do it just to calm myself down. I just try and focus slow and not get worked up and relax. That's my main use of it so far. But yeah.
That sounds good to me. I mean,
that's my contribution. The distinction there is when I discovered exercise, it was me still thinking imposing something onto the body. Not necessarily bad in itself. It was still very a head awareness, a posing routine on the body and treating the body like a workhorse. But there's also this awareness into the body where it's not me being separate from the body, it's experiencing myself as the body. Yeah. That's all I got. Nothing else.
And thank you for that, James. And you mentioned an excellent thing to remember is that, some people teach this stuff as kind of a ghost in the machine kind of thing, where we have like the conscious mind is somewhere outside of us. And one thing that we need to remember is, whatever the reality of consciousness is, our body is where this stuff takes place and how we connect to whatever that is. So we cannot just escape that truth. We're going to have to stay engaged with the material in order to do practices like this, to really engage with consciousness in a way that is going to allow us to, as Osama was saying, have the whole experience of being alive and experiencing pain and the range of emotions and the mastery of intellect, all of those things.
Well, when you said Ghost in the Machine, when I first had any notion there was some kind of thing called enlightenment, when I was probably about the age of 11 or 12, I saw it as that, as being this separate, invulnerable little unit sitting up in the head that isn't affected by anything.
Kind of like a mech,
so it's very much
like the
trying to be
body's
the
a
ghost.
mech.
Yeah, that was my initial thing, which was just a quest for immunity, a defensive quest for immunity, as opposed to an expansive consciousness that consumes more and more, becomes more, whatever language you want to use.
Right.
Yeah, and it took me about a good 5 or 6 years to start considering something else before I started to think, well, perhaps it's not quite this setting up a little tent behind my eyes and trying to live in it.
Yeah, but many of us start there on our journeys.
It was a necessary start for me in my situation.
Yeah.
But time limited. It was only ever going to go so far.
Makes sense to me. All right. Any last thoughts from anyone else this evening? This afternoon, this morning.
Time to start wrapping it up.
Yeah. I think we've covered a lot of stuff, and we have offered up a framework for putting this content into practice.
Yeah, and if you want to know how to take this to the next step, leave a comment down in the comment section below there, and if we get enough comments, we'll do a more advanced one of these.
That sounds good to me. All right, then. Let's go on Brady Bunch mode.
We are already.
Yay! All right. So thanks everyone for being here and for your awesome contributions and even just your presence. That's more than enough. All right. To each other, wave to everybody watching on the replay.
Bye, folks.
And we'll see you next week. Bye.